Yeah, we're going to talk some horse racing to start tonight. We've got a big race coming up there with the Haskell, not too far away from you, Don. So let's bring him on. We wanted to have him on a few weeks ago, but he's such a busy man, such in demand for all these shows. We couldn't get him, but we got him tonight. Pete the Prophet joining us. How are you, Pete?
I'm in the house. I got a clear connection. I got no hockey games. I'm not by the beach. There's no big racing going on. I'm here, and I'm here for you two guys.
Well, here you're on.
You guys need
you're on call to be the backup announcer. I heard at Saratoga. So isn't that true? Or?
I am. Yeah, I'm ready to go there. Probably Saratoga harness, but whatever it is, I'm ready to go. However it works out. So let's get talking horse racing. Come on.
Well, I'll tell you, everybody is waiting with great expectation for Saratoga to open up, and there's also, again, speculation. Last time you were on we talked about the Haskell, what was going to happen there at Monmouth, and now the speculation is, are they going to go from Monmouth and the Haskell up to Saratoga and run a race up there in the Travers, but no firm commitment in that area as yet.
I would be very surprised if they go in the Travers after this, and I don't think it's the best thing for him if they're really trying to win the big race. I mean, he really needs to run against older horses, and I think they want to spread it out. Because they don't want to run 3 races before the Breeders' Cup. They really want to do 2, and I don't think the timing works out right in that way. I mean, maybe they'll change their mind. They seem to be a very social team, and listen, Saratoga would break some records also if they did it, but I don't think they're going to do it. He's too valuable to wheel back. And listen, coming back in a month is certainly an easy thing for him to do. But I got a feeling. But here's the other thing, because I think this race on Sunday is going to be a walkover. So if that's true, if he just jogs around that racetrack, he doesn't get too much out of it. Then it's almost as if he didn't run, and then maybe they do run him back in the Travers. You know, New York is begging for it.
I was just going to say to the two of you fellas that you look at the field as a whole, and it's really more like a workout. I know the people at the Monmouth Park are delighted that he's going to run there, and the attraction for fans is going to be fantastic because, as I just mentioned, 63,000 is the most they've ever had, and they're expecting 60. But as I said to Doug just before we went on the air, that they're opening the parking lot at 5 in the morning. They're opening the track at 10 in the morning. So I think realistically they're trying to make a run at that record of 63,000. And the field, as you mentioned, Pete, is very light, so it's more like a workout. It should be more like a workout than a race.
Which is, I think, one of the reasons why they chose it in the first place as his first start back. I mean, coming back in the Travers, the Travers at that point is going to have, some bears. They'll have some horses ready to go, have some horses for courses at Saratoga. Probably not the best thing to run back in your first race that hard. So this is a natural stepping stone for him, the smartest move for him across the board. So I think but in the sense of it's going to be a moment as he pulls away by 25 on the far turn and the place goes crazy. It'll be a moment in the stretch of Coronation. It'll be wonderful, but it's not really too much for for the actual racing and to see what he has left. He sounds like he's really knocking down the clockers in the morning, so he's doing all the right things, but this race will mean nothing. Doug?
I know you and I were talking, John, last week about Triple Crown winners like Seattle Slew, who I believe ran into his 4th year. I know Secretariat, I think, ran at least to the end of his 3rd year. Pete, did he run into his 4th year as well? It's kind of unusual because we haven't had this in, 35 years, but for a Triple Crown horse to go into his 4th year.
Well, Seattle Slew went into his 4th year, and Affirmed actually went
Affirmed,
into his
okay. We were trying to think who did.
Yeah. Year. Yeah, also Secretary didn't.
He ran to the end of the year, right? He did Travers and a couple others, right? One in Canada, wasn't that his last race?
His last race was actually when Eddie Maple rode him because Ron Turcotte got suspended, and Eddie Maple always said that that was the hardest race he's ever had to run because he never thought if he loses that race, and it's on the grass. Secretary was absolutely a proven grass runner also. But if he loses that race, and it was a very good horse in the race, a Canadian turf champion in the race, if he loses that race, he said he probably never gets across the border because they string him up over in Canada. But he jogged in that race, and then that was the last time that you ever saw him again run. It was nice that the Seattle Slough people came back and affirmed, and that's the greatness of those horses is what they did at 4. And we had discussions before about the the Triple Crown, and when these horses didn't win the Triple Crown, all the ones that were laid up real quiet and stuff like that. The mark of a champion is what they do afterwards and into the 4 years as a 4-year-old, and none of those horses had any sort of career. I mean, you can count on one hand all of them, the amount of wins they had. I think Big Brown had the one in the Haskell. I'm not even sure if Real Quiet won again. So it's really what you do afterwards here that makes a difference, and it's so rare to see him run, someone run at 4, and obviously that's not going to happen here, but it will be interesting to see what path he chooses after this.
One thing you touched on, Pete, and I pretty much agree with, is that, Bob Baffert is a little bit political in the sense that he sort of he had not promised, but he had pretty much loved the track at Monmouth. He had run there so many times before. In my mind, it was almost fait accompli that he was going to run in the Haskell. It wasn't announced, but I was sure he was going to run. And I think the same thing now about the Travers. I think that he likes to keep everybody as happy as possible. So I think he's going to run in it. I disagree with some other people that don't.
I'm so mixed on it because it really isn't. I mean, unless he's changed his statement, he did say that he wanted 2 races into the Breeders' Cup. Now, if it's 3, then the Travers makes sense. But if it's 2, it makes no sense because then the race is in the end of August, and then the Breeders' Cup's not till 2 months away. So
right.
I'm kind of, but again, as we talked about, I think this race is just going to be a workout. What does he get out of it? I'm not sure if it puts him on the best step going forward. But, Bob likes this game. He likes to play this game. He likes to be wooed. And, this is all very, very nice to him. He likes going back and forth with this stuff. So he'll definitely get the most out of this.
Keeps his name on the front page, Doug.
Absolutely, yeah. I was just going to say, though, Pete, I know these horses are insured, particularly for the breeding rights and all that, but, worst case scenario, that's the thing trainers worry about, owners worry about. Say he breaks a leg or something, what happens there?
Well, he's so heavily insured that, in many ways...
Does it cover all that they would have lost?
Oh, yes. I mean, well, you actually don't know into how long the career goes, in the sense of a breeding career, but it's quite a hefty sum that they have. That's one of the things that if you ever look at the mathematics of the horse races, especially Affirm was a great example. I remember seeing an article that affirmed, even though he won, had all the races and all the millions of dollars he won, was a loser in the sense of his expenses because the insurance was so high. So all those millions, covered the insurance and obviously security and all other, things that he had to do. But the money was made after the fact. So, the racing, in this case, he's insured for a load of money as well as insured, very similar to like what Cigar was insured for, which was infertility, which can certainly be an issue. There's nothing you don't know what's going to happen there. So there's a heavy insurance on this animal right here.
Now they can't go into the breeding shed until they stop running. Is that right? I heard that somewhere. Or can they do it? Or can he do it now if they wanted to?
No, they can't do it now. They have to let the horse out. They have to wind him down in a better way of putting it. So no, they can't do it. There've been many horses that have gone to the breeder's shed, not done well, and then have returned in a year or two, which has happened, but not with something this high profile. It wouldn't happen.
Right.
Where right now in your mind? I know they can, different places they go to the auctions to buy these particular. Where's the best breeding area at the moment? Who's doing the best job?
It's still Kentucky. They still have that. They still have all the blue bloods. They still do the best job with the sales, and those are the big main sales. But the area down there in Florida has certainly picked up some things. Saratoga, their yearling sales that they have, which actually be happening in a week or two, don't really ever give off the big numbers and the big winners down the road. It's still these other sales earlier on than this Saratoga sale that seem to do the best. So still, Kentucky still does pretty well with this stuff.
And Ocala, right up the road from us, Don. That's where Steinbrenner, I believe, still had his farms, right? So it's usually Ocala, Kentucky, and I guess California, right? Be third.
Yeah, I just didn't know whether Steinbrenner's stable was still.
I haven't heard about it. No, I don't know if the Suns kept it going or not.
Yeah, whether the rest of the family kept it going. I have not heard a word about that. I guess we'll have to talk to Hayes about that. He'll know.
Yeah, he keeps up on that. Pete, I want to ask you a little bit about, we've heard California Chrome had a workout or two already. Any word on where he could run next?
I think it's, I mean, the race that they would be shooting for would be one of the races at Belmont against older horses. That's the next, I don't know if it's the Wood, I forgot which one it is exactly, but it's sort of mid-September.
Right.
So it's I think the plan is a 6-week, 7-week plan. So if they run, the race this Sunday, that race is about 7 weeks away, and then 7 more weeks away for the Breeders' Cup. So that was his initial plan. He's got to change a lot of things if he decided to run in the Saratoga race, because he wouldn't come back in that race at Belmont. There's some other races in Kentucky where he might run and do that. So it's all how he comes out of the race. I mean, I'm sure Bob knows pretty much what he's going to do right now, because unless something tragic happens to this horse, he's going to come out of the race fine. I mean, there's no effort here, so it'll just be, I think he's got an idea. I think Belmont seems to be the logical choice to go against Older. I mean, he needs to get a little of that in him, but Bob could change at any time. That's what makes him so entertaining.
Well, California Chrome, as Doug and I talked about last week, they were talking about a 3-month training period before, the horse actually runs again. I don't know where they stand in that 3-month training period at the moment, but that was the number I had heard. I don't know if that's right or wrong.
What do you mean a 3-month training?
In other words, he has not been running at the point that they expected him to be on a training program. He had a bruised heel or a bruised something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, that was a little bit ago, and that's why the way they're spacing out the race. I mean, even in a way, the fact that Belmont was in early June, so even this way is again his 7-week idea. Listen, he ran a lot. California Chrome ran a lot this winter. Considering that he just ran one race after another, and then those 3 big races, almost one better than the next. And it just now, I think, since they know what they have, they're going to be very cautious with what they do, and they pretty much have this mapped out. I think they know exactly what they're going to do. I mean, what I'm more interested in is, I don't know what you guys think, but I certainly think that record gets broken. If the weather is right and not too hot, here in New York and Don, I think in Jersey, it's going to be 95, 100 on Wednesday, and similar on Thursday. That'll keep down the crowds in a fairly big way. I think he beats it. I don't know if you guys heard that. They wanted Bon Jovi to show up, and they were trying to get Springsteen to go. They were trying to make it a Jersey, a big Jersey thing, try to get 70,000, 80,000. And actually, I don't know, Don, do you know who ran the year that they had the 63,000?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I read about it in the paper, and whether it was 63,000 was the all-time record, but I don't know who, I don't know what the field was on that particular day. They wrote the crowds and what they were going to be doing, but they didn't write the horses that ran that day.
Who it was? Yeah. I was trying to figure it out myself, and I obviously just Google it and I find out. But I wasn't positive who did that, but I think they break it. I mean, that area, Jersey doesn't get too much in the way of these big horses. The Haskell does bring these horses to them, and the people respond there. It's such a different place when big horses run there. People actually go. At Belmont, people don't come. Listen, in California Chrome, if that race was at Belmont, it would be 25,000, 30,000. It would not be a big deal. In Saratoga, you're gonna knock down the rafters. Very similar to when Rachel Alexander ran a few years ago, and they brought down the house that day. So it would be very similar if he runs in that race. But I think they break the record with the proper. If it's not 97 degrees, I think they break it.
Well, at least it's made a great conversation piece. People don't talk about racing much, as we all know. And whether you're in Florida where a hard racing around the Tampa area, or whether you're here in New Jersey, or whether you're in New York, people just don't talk racing anymore. It used to be, one of the top 3 or 4 sports in terms of conversation and betting, but that's all changed.
Yeah, and it, I know that things, come back, certain styles come back, fashion comes back in certain ways. Horse racing is just is still, even though it's been a very long time, in the beginning of its fall. If it's not for the gambling on casinos that are at some racetracks, and if it's not, they just don't have the interest. It's too slow of a game for most people, and it's just which makes it a great sport for those in the know. And it's just too many. I think we talked about it last time. The fact that there's not a czar, a commissioner, that you can run all these meets and all these horses are running against each other constantly. It just savages each other, and there's just really no logic to it. Actually, what was done down in Florida is really the greatest. The way they worked that out is a phenomenal example of how you're supposed to do it. Cut down on some racing dates. You run one race meeting kind of year round in a way. You call it different things, but it's working down there very well in Florida. They're doing good. The numbers are good. I hate to admit it because I'm not a Stronach fan, but he's certainly done a very good job down there with that stuff.
Well, the interesting thing about it, and Doug knows as well as I do and you do, it used to be the luxury sport. I mean, you went there to have lunch. It wasn't supposed to be a gambling casino, although the gambling was heavier than it would be sometimes in the gambling casino. But it was even for the part-time racing fan, it was a day out. It was a vacation day. And everybody got dressed up. Everybody did this and that. And it's sort of fallen by the wayside. There's no real cachet to it unless you go to the Kentucky Derby or you go to the Travers or you go to this or that. That's the only time you really get the really multitude of fans that come out.
But you know how these things have changed, even in the sense of how the gambling has changed. I mean, look at Atlantic City. I mean, Atlantic City is dead, and certain like online poker and those sort of things have taken off, and it's just different. It's easier now because you could get it right on the internet, and it's fast. And so it's behind the times. And way back, when New York especially, when they had the chance to get OTB, when NYRA should have run OTB, it's kind of what you said, Don. It was almost like a little more high. It was a more high society game, and they didn't believe in gambling. They didn't want it. They didn't want the $2 better, so they didn't want to take over OTB, and that was the kiss of death for New York racing. Listen, if it's not for Saratoga, you guys you don't see it, but the Belmont meet up here was abysmal. They're running 6 horses. It's just no good. It's just not a good product, and that's with the gambling money in it. So, and look out in California. Other than Del Mar, and they have some short fields too. The racing at Santa Anita is an embarrassment. 4 and 5 horses a race. It's just not a good scenario for to make that sport better and better. It's just a little bit stodgy right now, and I just can't see it changing anytime in our lifetime, other than big moments.
I agree. Doug?
Yeah.
Pete the Prophet joining us from up in New York today. Before we move on to a couple other topics in sports, Pete, you mentioned Saratoga before, opening last week. I know you get up there a couple of times during the meet. I guess if you want to say that's, the lifeblood of horse racing is still pretty strong up there. A few other tracks like you mentioned, but you just kind of went through it a bit in your answer right there. Racing's still in trouble, isn't it?
There is, but there's nothing like Saratoga. I mean, it's amazing how when they go up there, that 6.5 weeks is just nirvana. It's nirvana for horse playing. It's all. I mean, it's nowhere. It's so much better, but it's very near what happens when Gulfstream starts the winter. It's good racing for the better, and that's what needs to be seen. It's big fields. It's interesting racing, and that play. I mean, and the other thing too, boys. I mean, when you go to Saratoga, I mean, open up the paper for the first few days. And the opening day, there's a $112 winner. There's $80 winners the next day. That's what Saratoga is. Graveyard of favorites. A lot of fun. I don't know if you saw the story about the New Jersey bettor. I think it was that.
Yeah, I heard that. 50 cents.
It's 50 cents. I think it was $400,000. Only one ticket. Whatever, he put in a few $100s, but still, he hit that thing. There's big pools. When carryovers happen, it becomes just giant words. People talk about it. They get into it. I'm actually going up there. I go up there tomorrow, actually, and I'm there for a week. Of course, reporting for you guys. 'Cause I know the budget you guys give, and it's a very generous one. So
you didn't get the expense check yet for the meal money?
I got
you didn't
the
get it
expense
yet?
check. I got the McDonald's, the coupon book. I appreciate that. I got the dollar meal stuff and whatever else that you've get pair of binoculars with a broken strap. I'm ready.
What about the beautiful suite we got you on the third floor of the hotel?
Yeah, that was on exit 13.
It's up near Cornell.
I-95, so I actually have to travel 2.5 hours each way. But it is a great suite, though. I appreciate the upper level, which is big. So, I mean, in that sense, Saratoga is right. The town is hopping. It's the 6 weeks, and after that, I mean, when they come back here, it literally feels like winter. I mean, there's nothing going on here at Belmont. Even those big race days, back in the day, they used to run, one big race, the Woodwood, the Marlboro, one race on a weekend, and they would draw people.
Jockey Club Gold Cup.
Jockey Club Gold Cup. I would go to watch those horses run. Like, they were big races, Meadow Star, Light, Forgo, name them all. You would go for those races. Now they put them all on one day, and they still can't draw 20. And because there are no really big names, there's nothing that catches your eye. When we were here, Doug, in Flora Park, we lived in an amazing time with the horses that ran. I mean, Secretariat wasn't really, we were young, but we didn't really know much. But after that, the Affirmed and Alliedar and Seattle Fluid and all the spectacular bits, all the things that happened there, was a magnificent time. I mean, people would come out, you'd know about it, it would, you'd talk about it. Now, can you name another horse other than Californian Chrome? I can't even name a horse other than Californian Chrome that gives any name, any turf horse. Even back in the day, turf horses, Johnny D, Pillar, Lure, like you knew those names if you knew anything about horse racing.
Kelso for 9 or 10 years, you couldn't wait till he ran.
Exactly, and now what do we have? We have, I don't know. I don't know any of these horses. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who's even the big horses, the older horses that Californian Chrome will have to go against. So it'll be interesting.
You're sounding more and more like Abbott and Costello here.
Yeah, you're right. Who's on first again? I don't know.
Well, Pete, before we wrap it up here, I want to get your thoughts. We talk a little hockey, too. Big Ranger guy up there, as I am. Looks like Derek Stepan is going to re-sign with the Rangers. I guess it isn't official yet, but looks like it's going to be 6 years. That's been the talk of the off-season for the Rangers. We had a tough Again, a tough season, losing in the playoffs. Thought they'd go the whole way this year, but that's good news, right? If you're a Ranger fan,
it's good news if you're a Ranger fan, but it's again, it leaves. There's a lot more to be done. I mean, I know that they won the President's Cup and all else, and listen, they're one game away from moving on, but still, they don't have that offense. I mean, if Rick Nash is your main option, and he's going to have a regular season like that and get buried in the playoffs because he gets keyed on, there is no big. They don't have the big option, and they have the goalie to bring them to the promised land. And he's getting older. They got to make some sort of moves. I mean, losing St. Louis was a very good. I mean, I'm glad he retired for his own sake. They needed something else, but they need some of these rookies to step up a little bit and a little bit more. But Rangers have always been a little trouble when it comes to scoring goals, and they're just a little shy. I was actually very surprised that the GM for the Devils there went over to Toronto. That was pretty big news, right?
Right. I'm a little surprised that when you get to the Rangers that, I think the Lightning really proved that you could bring 2 or 3 players up, and they had really 2 that had not played at all, and 3 that had played the year before, who all really matured and really became a factor to get them to the finals. I mean, to me, I would think the Rangers are in a position where, they got to draw from within and hope they can pull a player right out of the hat that's going to come in and play right away.
And they need to give those players, I think, some shots in the.
Right.
I mean, I think it's been proven in many ways. Listen, baseball. You can't even. I mean, there are people that they're bringing up that are. Chicago's got. There's someone coming up every week that is making impact where normally they wouldn't do it. Finally, the Mets are bringing up some people, to help out, and this coddling gets a little bit too much. It's the only way that they grow. And listen, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the Islanders had, Berard, and they had all these fantastic guys, and then who's the GM there? The guy that's on the
Milbury.
Barry Melrose. No, not Barry Milbury. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ruined
him.
That guy destroyed the franchise for a decade. I mean, even who's the goalie that used to be for Vancouver? The Islanders had. His name. I mean.
Yeah. Oh, what's his name?
I can't remember his name. But I mean, he's one of
Luongo.
I mean, they had all these guys, and they didn't develop like he put them out there in the first year. And they played really good, and they would be rushing defensemen, and they'd come into the play, and they get caught once in a while. And he got rid of them. He didn't give this 19, 20 years old. I mean, Milbury killed this franchise. He should run Myra. He can't do any worse than what's going on over there. But bring. I mean, the Rangers should bring up some of these kids. Let's do what Tom Seaver said over the weekend. Stop coddling these guys.
Pitch.
Bring them up and play them.
Let them pitch. He said.
Play them.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Let them pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these guys, they're making them feel like they can't. 92 pitches. Oh my God, 94 pitches. Even bringing up these players as if they're going to be crushed for a lifetime if they come up and they get hit a little bit. Come on, these are men. They'll adjust. You bring them back down. You go up and back. It's silly. It's the coddling. Listen, that's what horse racing is now too. Horses ran. I mean, Forgo ran every day. I think he ran every day. I think he ran 400 times in a year. Forgo. He ran every day. They ran horses. Now they run. One race here, 8 weeks here, 3 months there, and the season's over and the horse is retired.
One horse, wasn't it, ran, what was it, Citation? One of those that ran between the Preakness and the Belmont?
Yes, ran in the, I think it was the Jersey Derby.
Yeah, ran a race between the Preakness and the Belmont, yeah.
Like a week later, I mean, those were iron horses. By the way, if you guys had any, you guys want to see something hilarious. I don't know if you heard about the race fix at Evangeline Downs. Have you heard about that?
No, I haven't heard that. No.
Okay, well, listen to me.
We're listening.
And do it immediately. I want you to go to the YouTube video of the race fix for. It's a 6-horse field, and they have the arrows on who's being held back. 3 horses, the ones in the back, you don't. I mean, I don't know if you know what a stranglehold is in horse racing, but it's basically the bear hug. You're not letting the horse run at all. These guys, which are going to be suspended and all this other stuff, they should be, for stupidity alone, they should get 20 years. They didn't even make it look good. You have to see it to believe it. It's Abbott and Costello. It's like what's the movie where it's the Rodney Dangerfield movie where the guy's winning the race, the harness race, and then he puts his feet down.
Oh, Easy Money.
To stop the horse.
Easy Money, yeah.
Easy Money. That's almost exactly what this is like. They're strangling, they're fighting. One guy takes his horse and runs him into the rail and comes back out. It's unbelievable that could happen. Please, I want everybody out there listening, and there are thousands, but I want them all. I want them to go to YouTube, and at least thousands, and I want them to go and check this out because it is brilliant to watch. Brilliant.
We'll do that. Yeah. Well, Pete, we'll let you go. We'll let you go take some Valium now and calm down.
Yeah, that's my. Listen, when I miss a date with you guys, I got a lot of energy built up.
Yeah, so, pent up. We'll have you back on in September, right?
No, that's too long, Doug. You don't want that. We're gonna need to get something in between because you're gonna get too much of it. So
we got to get them at the Travers, and then we got to.
That's right, Travers. All right, let's do Travers. When is the Travers? The 28th, right? 29th?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, that's the weekend.
Let's do something the week before Travers. Sounds good.
Let's do it then. And Don, enjoy. Stay cool as you're going. Relax. Take it easy over there.
I got a personal fan.
Oh, really? You have one of those ones that blows little water at you too?
I'm an early American. You just hold it in your hand and just wave it back and forth. You ever see those pictures of Roosevelt? Not Teddy Roosevelt. Not Teddy Roosevelt. Franklin W.
He stand himself. That's what real men do. Even Tom Seaver would say that. Stand yourself. Exactly. I love it.